Hey, happy Thursday, every single Thursday here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. I am Kelly Stewart with CT Bets. We call this Hustle Shorts, where we just pick members of the hustle and make them do shows all during the week so we can drive traffic to the main show. Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, always live on either Twitter, the WagerTalk YouTube channel. There's all sorts of various outlets. You guys can go jump in the comment section and trash Trig, because I don't really do the show that much anymore. I prefer to do this one with CT, and Thursdays are crazy for me. And now that college basketball started, Chris, it's even crazier. I'm over here like looking at games for the first time at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's just unacceptable, but it is still football season. I know you have a couple of futures bets you wanted to touch on in college basketball, so let's hear them.
Yeah, Kel, it's crazy. I was driving home from work today, and football season. I got really sad. It's absolutely flying by, and we don't have a lot of college football left, and thankfully we do have a good amount of NFL, but we got to enjoy it while we can. So yeah, crazy as it sounds, college hoops starting. Started this week, and I did play a few futures, Cal, and I tweeted them out on Monday. I'll just briefly go over them. I played St. Mary's 70-1. They got some weapons and a lot of experience to make a little run in the tourney. I really like them to win the WCC regular season title this year. I think that they could finally put Gonzaga in their rear view mirror this year. The sophomore guard, Aiden Mahaney, this is his team, arguably the best guard in the WCC. So they're going to go as far as he could take them. And they got some bigs to help too. Baylor 54-1. This one's kind of crazy, Cal, right? So 54-1. Played this last week and played more on Monday morning. After the game Tuesday night versus Auburn, Circa went to 18-1. Pretty freaking wild. 18-1 at Circa right now after one game. DraftKings does still have 35-1 up. So I thought that was a number, right, Cal? You and I always talk about this, is a lot of the times you play these futures before the tournament starts. And then as the season progresses, there's times where, the team that you bet goes into a little drought, and you could catch them at probably that same number you played them at, or sometimes a better number. These two that I did play, St. Mary's and Baylor, I don't think there's going to be a time that you're going to get a better number than the one that I got on before the season started. So a lot of new faces for Scott Drew's team, most notably the five-star freshman, Jacoby Walter, who, if you watch that game, went off versus Auburn. And they got the Toledo transfer. He was the MAC Player of the Year, Ray J. Dennis. Drew says this is the deepest team he's had in quite some time. So watch out for the Bears this year. I know Kansas is loaded, but they might be able to give the Jayhawks a little run for their money. Last one, Marquette, 25-1, returns their unreal backcourt with the Player of the Year from last year in the Big East, Tyler Kolek. My man, Cam Jones, who is constant double-digit producer every night here. Very experienced team. I'm very high on the regular season Big East champs last year. I think I was just a little too early there, Kel, maybe a year too early. I think that this Marquette team has a really good chance to make a deep run here. And that's one of the teams where you might be able to get a better number or maybe the same number as the season progresses there. But I did play all those three: St. Mary's 71, Baylor 54-1, and Marquette 25-1.
Story of my life. I'm always a year early on teams. Well, let's not even get into it. Either way, my Ravens future looks really good. How about that? 20-1, Super Bowl champs, baby. Outside of that, I am not a big futures bettor, so I did not place any college basketball futures, but I did want you to share some of those that had okay numbers still available. Obviously, St. Mary's is probably out of value, but hey, there may be a stretch in their schedule. Let me actually pull it up, see if maybe they go on a loss. They play UNLV. They're going to be a favorite there. Nope, probably not. You're absolutely right. That was probably the only spot. They don't have a tough schedule really this year outside of playing New Mexico tonight. We'll see if they can't get past them. They are 6.5-point favorites on Thursday night. Okay, something I asked John Murray on our podcast this week, because it's me and John Murray, me and my buddy Steven, and then me, Pam, and Ariel. In Survivor, somehow left. It's been a chalky year. We've avoided any sort of catastrophe. At what point do we stop discussing our Survivor picks on air? Because at a point, it's going to be a detriment, and our competition, if you will, is going to know to listen to our show and who we're going to be taking.
That's a good question. Let's see. I would like to make it to December, the first week of December first, and then can we, you know, come back to this question a little bit and reevaluate a little bit. But I think that's fair. First week of December, we could talk. Until then, we're going to the Bahamas next week, so we won't have this show. Actually, Cal, I just thought of that now. We're not
A
going to have
very
this
good
show
point.
next week. But Thanksgiving week we will do our show still. So let's talk about it at least through Thanksgiving and hope to stay alive.
Okay, we'll go from there. I just happen to laugh because I know that a lot of us are in the content space, but at some point in time, we've got to not tell everybody who we're using because there's a lot of money at stake. But like you said, let's see if we can at least get to week 12. We'll definitely tell you who we're on Thanksgiving, but maybe not on who we're on that Thanksgiving Sunday. And you guys are going to know who we're on Thanksgiving because of who we're playing this week. I think it's a no-brainer. I don't trust the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and I said that week 1. Everybody wants, you got to hold the Lions, you got to hold the Dolphins, you got to hold San Francisco, you got to hold the Ravens, you got to hold the Eagles, you got to hold all these teams for either Thanksgiving or Christmas, right? And everybody's got different things mapped out. I never once wanted to hold the Cowboys for Thanksgiving. Never once. But you had to, right? They're playing the Washington Commanders. They're going to be at least touchdown favorites. Chris, talk to me about why I think this is a no-brainer this week. And if you have any reservations about taking the Cowboys this week outside of, knock on wood, Jared Goff potentially getting hurt prior to Thanksgiving, that would be the only, I think I would be like, holy shit, I'm an idiot. This is why you saved the Cowboys.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But Wanda, what you made a good point. It's kind of nice that we did save up until now both the Lions and the Cowboys, because now we have if say we burned one of those, our whole theory was to have both teams available on Thanksgiving, and now we're only 2 weeks away, and we still have those, and I'm glad we do, because this is a perfect spot to take the Dallas Cowboys. Right, this is the biggest spread that we've seen so far this year, excuse me, in the NFL. And it's an absolute no-brainer. I mean, Tommy DeVito is pulling the trigger, Kel, for I almost said for Syracuse. He's the kid from Syracuse. Okay. This kid wasn't even supposed to make the team. And now he's gonna go into Dallas. Like, the Giants are banged up. You could see last week when they played in Vegas. I was on Vegas last week. That was one of my plays. Kel, I was looking at the slate all week, and I don't really even know. We burned so many decent teams that we would take otherwise this week. I mean, what's our other option? I mean, I guess
the Bengals,
and that's I don't really love. They've been rolling.
they've been red
I know
hot.
they're getting red hot. And
I think a lot of people are going to use the Bengals.
Houston's been playing pretty well. CJ Stroud's been very, very impressive. So, I mean, would it shock you if Houston beat the Bengals this weekend?
No, not in the slightest. Pam and I did use the Bengals. She loves the Bengals. She's been riding them for 4 weeks, and that's the only reason why I didn't put up a fight. The Bengals play the Ravens on deck. That scares the crap out of me. They have been rocking and rolling. Yep. I mean, there is not a hotter team in the last 4 weeks than the Cincinnati Bengals. I bet a lot of people use them this week in Survivor. There's a couple other spots we can use the Bengals. We still have the Saints available. We still have the Ravens available. We still have, let's look. Falcons are not great. Titans are not great. Vikings are definitely not great. But maybe with Josh Dobbs, there's a spot or two to use them. And don't forget, CT, people that do use the Bengals this week will probably use the Lions next week over the Bears. And then we'll be forced to use the Cowboys. Look, am I going to cheer for absolute and utter chaos on Thanksgiving? Yes, but hopefully it's in terms of the Washington Commanders springing the upset.
Yeah, I mean, the Commanders, they've done it before, right? Wasn't it a few years ago? You had that pegged, right?
I had them plus 2.5. I used them on Thanksgiving. My partner, Chad, showed up at my Thanksgiving party, and he's like, oh, I hedged. I'm like, why? And they absolutely rolled. I don't think for 1 second I was nervous about that Commanders pick. Not for one. And I think we ended up going out like the next week or the week after. But this is just not a Cowboys team that I really trust. Divisional opponents are tough, which everybody has to take a divisional opponent that week, obviously. San Fran's playing Seattle, the Dolphins are playing the Jets, the Cowboys are playing the Commanders, and then the Lions are playing the Packers. So my rule has to be thrown out the window by default.
Right. Yeah, because Packers, Lions, and that's what we're going to be forced to take, right? Because the Black Friday game, we've already used the Dolphins, and I don't think we're going to be in any rush. They're playing that in New York, right? At the
Yeah.
Jets. I don't think we're
Yeah,
in
we're
any
definitely not
rush
going
to
to take the
take that.
Jets, but like,
No.
would it shock you how poorly the Dolphins are playing right now to lose on the road to a divisional opponent? Like right now, I have Dolphins minus 6.5. Do I trust the Jets at all? No, but I don't trust the Dolphins either.
I agree, Kel.
I think we use
I've
them at the
bet
right
against
time.
my best bet has been against the Dolphins 4 times this year, and I'm 3 for 4. And it's every
Wow.
single time where they, step up in class, and they cannot play to the higher level of teams in the NFL, and they've shown it. Remember, in the beginning of the season, they were calling this team, "This is the closest thing we've seen to the greatest show on turf." That must have been the worst take I've ever heard. That was ridiculous, and I
Well,
agree with
against
you. I
bad
would,
teams, they look wonderful, right? When they
yeah,
play
of
a
course.
poor team like the Broncos and they play a crappy team that is just lackluster defensively. But what did we see? We saw them going to Buffalo and lose, and Buffalo's not anything to write home about. We saw them lose to the Chiefs. That final score was not indicative of how bad that game was. That first half, the Chiefs absolutely dominated.
And then the Eagles 2 weeks ago, which was my best bet on Sunday Night Football. They have problems versus good teams. And no, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets took care of them. That defense is good, and Zach Wilson can actually move the ball, but he just makes a mistake when they get inside the red zone. So they could give him a game. That's a divisional game too. So I think it's a no-brainer this weekend, Cal. We're going to burn the Cowboys and hopefully get an easy, no sweat winner, and we're going to move on. And you reminded me, I forgot we have the Ravens left. So we have some decent teams left here. We can maneuver around.
Yeah, so we did Commanders week 1, which was terrifying. Bills week 2, Chiefs week 3, Niners week 4, Dolphins week 5, Rams week 6, Seahawks week 7, Chargers week 8, Browns week 9, and we're going to use the Cowboys this week. Next week, though, woof. It's going to basically be between the Texans and the Jags based on my spreadsheet. But I agree, Chris. The name of the game is survive in advance. At this point in time, this is the best spot to use the Cowboys, so that's what we're going to do. Even though I know next week is the best spot to use the Lions. But again, I digress. I'd rather take the Lions off playing the Bears than the Lions coming from the West Coast. Plus, the Lions never win on Thanksgiving. They just don't. Historically, they've been so bad.
So
I think
bad.
as long as Jared Goff is healthy, Dan Campbell's got this team very well rounded. This is a game that they want to win. They want to win this game for their fans, especially who doesn't want to beat the Packers when you're a Lions fan. All right, CT, let's get into some college football and NFL as we wrap things up. Yeah, my best bet is up in flames. I gave out TCU plus 10.5 on bet on it this week, and now Quinn Ewers is magically playing. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he got the Aaron Rodgers treatment somehow in the last 24 hours, but I was told, nope, he's out, and now he's playing. Line's 12.5. It's still okay. I still like the situation for TCU. I do, but they are no longer available for me to give out as my best bet. The rest of my parlay is Miami to beat FSU. Yeah, I know that's crazy. You guys can thank our producer, Joe Ranieri, for that one. I had him on my long list, and I said, okay, I'm going to take the 14.5. And he said, I think you should look at the situation here. FSU has not been playing great. And then I'm taking Penn State. I know Michigan is the number, what? Did they give him number 2? Depending on which poll you're looking at, college
Yeah.
2, right? Behind Ohio State 1. Who decides these things? It's not me, that's for sure. So anyway, I'm not sure who they played. And Marco said this, it was really funny. Michigan is built to beat Ohio State. Ohio State is built to beat Penn State, and Penn State is built to beat Michigan. I don't know who came up with that years and years ago, but I thought it was funny. So I'm going to steal it. So that is my 3-team underdog parlay. Pays 57-1 at Superbook Sports. You guys can bet it in their 9 states right now. And then I got a couple other ones, CT, but first I want to hear who you're on for this college football Saturday.
Yeah, college football. This is an ugly, ugly one. I'm going Virginia Tech at BC, right? And BC was a team that I actually played over 5.5 wins. That actually, Cal, cashes last Friday, when I was on Syracuse on Friday night, and you tailed me, and we didn't even know that Garrett Schrader was out until 10 minutes before the game started. So that one sucked, but BC got the over 5.5 wins cash here. And look, last year, Virginia Tech, they took care of business at home in Blacksburg versus this BC team. And Cal, I downgrade Virginia Tech 5.5 to 6 points when they go on the road. And this is obviously a situation where they're going on the road to Chestnut Hill here. And the Eagles, look, they got a breath of fresh air when Thomas Castellanos, the trigger man, came in and started playing in the first game of the year when they were in trouble with Northern Illinois. He came to save the day, and he's been great ever since. The front five has been great as well for BC. So this is a sleepy noon kick, Kel, and I like the short dog here at home. So I played on BC plus 1.5 for one of my games on Saturday.
Yeah, long list. I considered Duke plus 12.5 for my parlay. I didn't think they could win. They're not built to keep up with UNC offensively, depending on which quarterback they decide to go with on Saturday. But what they can do is exploit that terrible Tar Heels defense that I tried to exploit with Minnesota, whose also offense was absolutely abysmal. I will let you guys know if I end up on that one. And then I also considered Utah. But look, you and I have Washington. We have Penn State. We have Ole Miss. We have a couple of really solid teams, including Arizona, that has really shocked the world. Cal, who has gotten us a couple wins we didn't think they would. And we'll see if San Jose State can't beat Fresno State for us in our college football wins. But I was up late last night messing around with the what-if scenarios because, well, that's how my brain works. Instead of watching TV, I play what-if scenarios with my contests. So there's a couple of teams that I don't know if I want to step in front of, most notably Washington. I stepped in front of them last week. I did not and was not able to step in front of them again. I wouldn't be surprised to see Oregon throttle USC. But really short card for me this week, inevitably. I can tell you this right now from John Murray. Sharp Group played Kansas minus 3.5. They also played App State, Pittsburgh, and Temple. Any thoughts on any of those games? Did you get involved with any of those, Chris? Or are you on the opposite of any by chance?
No, Kansas is that's nice to hear. Kansas is a team I played. And as you know, that was a team I was really high on as well this year. Cash their over wins as well, over 5.5. So that's nice to hear. I'm on that as well. I'm also on Oklahoma minus 12.5, minus 13. Gave that out on Sports Grid last night. Cal, that just seems like one of those games where OU, off those back-to-back road losses, gets to come back home. Memorial Stadium, right? When you think about it, it's the last home game that they'll ever play in the Big 12. And that they're on a different level than West Virginia. It just looks like one of those absolute OU blowouts where it's like 34-14 and West Va just have never had a chance. And it from start to finish, blowout fashion. So I'm on the Sooners there. That's pretty much it for college so far. KU, BC, and Oklahoma. Those are the only ones that I played so far.
Yeah, I haven't played a ton either. Like I said, pretty disappointed in the TCU news, but it is what it is. Like you said, last Friday night, I was standing at the bar at the Mexican restaurant ordering margaritas. I look down, see my phone, and you're like, oh, hey, by the way, Syracuse's starting quarterback is out. So those fun things do happen from time to time. If I needed to, I guess I could get off of it, but then I would probably middle myself and the game would land 11.
Right.
All right, Chris, one thing I wanted to ask you before we got into some NFL, which I only have one game that I've actually played, is what are your thoughts on K-State Baylor? Line is up to 21.
I know. When's the last time that the line's been this high in this game? I was trying to think that when I was in the shower. It's a long, long time. It's crazy. I don't have too many thoughts on this, Kel. They're a mess. The Baylor is an absolute mess. They're talking. They want to ran the gone. No one's showing up to the games. It's just really, really bad right now. It does seem a little high, but then on the other hand, it's like K-State's been playing great football. They deserve to win that game. They should have won that game last weekend. I don't mean to bring up a bad memory for you, but they should have won that game. Will Howard played a really, really good game. So this one, I could see K-State absolutely blowing the doors in, kind of blowing off some steam from last week's overtime loss when they were on the 2 yard line, first and goal, and couldn't punch it in.
Yeah, that was frustrating. That being said, I don't know if I want to lay it with this team. That was
Yeah.
a really disappointing loss, not only for the team, then there were some things that were said out of the locker room. And I'm like, are we really letting this outside noise in? You mentioned, um, we'll call it what type of team case it is, right? Like I saw, I think on Twitter that somebody said, oh, they're the best 3-loss team in the country. And I'm going, oh, come on. Like that, I don't know if I like that. But Kelly Ford, one of the guys I follow, does some really solid power ratings on Twitter, actually had a what if scenario that what if the last play of the game went a different way? And oh, by the way, K-State would be 9-0 if that was the case, which is really frustrating. What if Mizzou would not have kicked a 61-yard field goal? That Friday night game to Oklahoma State was just absolutely gross. Thank God I did not have to subject myself to watch that. But yeah, last year, 31-3, K-State beat Baylor on the road. But man, it's been a rough year for this team. They had a couple of chances to get some covers, depending on when you bet this team. But Baylor, number 112 in rushing offense, 121st in rushing defense. K-State should be able to run all over this team, but I don't think I could lay it. Chris, wrap it up with who you got this weekend in the NFL.
My best bet, yeah, I don't know if you're going to like it or not. You might think it's a little square, but I don't really care. It's Niners at Jags, and I'm laying the
I like
three
it.
with Niners. Okay, great. I know they're both coming off the bye, Cal, right? And the Niners on the 3-game skid. But I'm kind of giving them a little pass here because they were so banged up, including the trigger man, Brock Purdy. And he was playing hurt, and I know he wasn't playing great, but yeah, he was banged up, and Debo was banged up. The defensive line was a little banged up. They get a little shot in the arm. They pick up Chase Young out of nowhere, the edge rusher. They're getting healthier, and I think that Kyle Shanahan's going to make some adjustments and be able to get back on track here. I know that Trevor Lawrence has been pretty good as a home dog in his career. I'm throwing that out the window here. I think the Niners defensive front should absolutely be able to get to him, cause him some havoc here. Niners by double digits. That's my best bet for this weekend. Niners -3.
Sorry, a little delay there. I had to send a Slack message to our producer because I made a joke about Bill Belichick getting laid. And last time he won a game after he got paid, so maybe he'd win a game after he got laid. Anyway, the person I do the show with was like,
Nice.
can we cut that out? I'm like, yeah, but I'll go ahead and say it on the show with CT because he doesn't give a shit. All jokes aside, if you haven't seen, Bill Belichick was on some woman's Ring doorbell shirtless this morning. I'm like, why aren't they in Germany already? What do I know? What do I know? What? Maybe it was in Germany. I don't know. But maybe Bill's got an ace up his sleeve, and I should bet the Pats +1. But my best bet is the Broncos. I do agree with Chris. Niners -3. Buy low spot, 3 straight losses, coming off a bye. The bye week was very beneficial for that team. Look, I'm fading the Bills. The Broncos are abysmal, but I got to take the 7.5. I also did put Bills in teasers for what it's worth. Bills, look, their defense is piling up injuries. You've got the Broncos coming off of a bye here. Yeah, they got a nice win over the Chiefs and somehow beat the Packers. Look, Russell Wilson, I'm not going to sit here and sing his praises, but 16 touchdown passes, just 4 interceptions this year. He's not the turnover machine he was last year. If the Broncos can make some stops, this looks like a 24-21 type final. So as much as I didn't like anything else, I did lean towards the Ravens, lean towards the Raiders. And as I said, I also like the Niners with CT. That's about it. We're going to call the show. CT, as always, a pleasure. Make sure you guys are following him at CTBets16 on Twitter, Kelly in Vegas on every single possible social media outlet that you could find for me. And Chris, can't wait to see you next week in the Bahamas. Let's hope we do not get kicked out of the Bahamar.
Yes, we are off next week. We'll be back. We'll figure out something for Thanksgiving week, Kel, because Thanksgiving's on Thursday. I just thought of that. And that's what day we usually do this show. But until next week for your 40th, always a pleasure.
We're going to go ahead and ask the producer to cut that out as well. Thanks, Chris.